So this is integrated 3 review for the chapter 9 test worksheet number 1. So on this first one, we're going to be looking at graphing this, but first let's find all the pieces. So the A is our amplitude. Okay, it's going to be a 4. Take the absolute value of it. Our vertical shift is this +1, so that means it's going to go up 1. The period is going to be determined by this b here. B is how many cycles we see in 2 pi distance. So I take 2 pi divided by my b. So the period is pi. And then phase shift. What makes this 0? Pi thirds. So we're basically going to go right pi thirds. So that's where we're going to start. Now, when I do this, I like to figure out where I'm going to start and end. So we are going to start at pi thirds. We're going to go pi away from that to get to our end of our cycle. Okay. So I can think of this as pi thirds plus 3 pi thirds. Okay. 3/3 is just a whole. And so we're going to end at 4 pi thirds. We're going to start at pi thirds, end at 4 pi thirds. So let me get my graph going. I'm going to be starting up at 1. So maybe I drop it down slightly. Okay, so my start is going to be at 1. I'm going to be going 4 above that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that puts me up at 5. And I'm going to be going 4 below. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That puts me down at -3. So our vertical shift is right here at 1. Our high is going to be at 5. Our low is going to be at -3. Now we are going to be starting at pi thirds, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. We always do 5 tick marks, and we're going to be ending at 4 pi thirds. So remember, sine is 0 to 0. We're going to start at 0 and end at 0. Okay. So for this, I'm going to be starting here at pi thirds, and that's my 0, which means it's going to be on my vertical shift. I also end at 0. So 4 pi thirds is going to be 0. Halfway in between here is also 0. Then in between these, remember it is negative, so we have to be careful. It's not going to go up first. It's going to go down first. And in between these, it's going to be going up. And that's our sine. On letter B. For this one, our amplitude is 2. Our vertical shift is going to be down 5. Our period is going to be affected by this 3. We have 3 full cycles within 2 pi distance. So I take 2 pi and I split it into 3 equal pieces. So they're each going to be 2 pi thirds. And phase shift, nothing's happening to this x before it's being times here by the 3. There's no parenthesis. So this is none. Okay, we're going to start at 0. So for this, I am going to need to start down at 5. So, oops, get my black again. So I need to go down to -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to go 2 beyond that, which is going to be -7, and 2 above that, which is -3 because of my amplitude. So let me just zoom in a little. So again, this is my vertical shift, shifted down 5. My high is going to be 2 above that at -3 and 2 below that at -7. And in this case, we are starting, there's no phase shift. So my first mark will be on my y-axis. This is my second, third, fourth, fifth. And this is going to be 2 pi thirds because I'm going 2 pi thirds away from 0. Okay. And now this is a cosine. So a cosine graph, we graph high to high or low to low if it's negative. This is positive, so high to high. So I'm going to go here at -3. And I end at 2/3 in the same spot. Halfway in between is the low. And in between those will be my zeros, which will be at -5 on either side. And that's my cosine graph. On number 2. Okay, so in the situation, we're dealing with a submarine and we have detected an enemy destroyer in the area. So we are going to porpoise or go shallow, then deep, and so on with the submarine. At t = 4 minutes, you are at your deepest, which is -1,000 meters. Okay, so I at 4 minutes, the deepest is going to be -1,000 meters. At t minutes, you reach your shallowest, which in this case would be our highest, okay, at -200 meters. If you assume your submarine depth varies sinusoidally with time, complete the following. Sketch the graph of the depth of the submarine. So in this situation, I am going to be below the x-axis because we're below water. And so we're going to have our high be at -200 because that's the shallowest. And the deepest is going to be at -1,000. So those are our high and low. Okay, so this is our high, this is our low. And then if I average those, so if I take -1,000 plus a -200 and I divide it by 2, I'm going to get a -600. And that's going to be our vertical shift. Now, this right away tells us our amplitude because the distance from here to here, or the distance from here to here, is 400. So that's going to be our A. We also know our vertical shift is at -600, so we're going to have a -600. Now, I'm going to do 5 markings. We're not starting at time 0, we're starting at time 4. So that's going to be our first one. That's going to be my phase shift. So that's the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, at 4, we're going to be at the deepest. So let me just plot this real quick. So at 4, we're going to be at our deepest. So at 4, we're going to be down here. Now we're going to end, I don't know what this is yet, but we're going to end at the deepest also. We're going to do a cosine for this. Halfway in between is going to be our high. And then in between those are going to be my, what I would normally call my zeros, but at my -600. Now in this case, again, 4 is at -1,000. 9 is where my -200 is. So this right here is going to be 9. Now, if that's 9, the distance from here to here, is 5. So that means the distance from here to here is also 5. So we are going to be ending at 14. That means our period is going to equal 10 minutes in this case. So this is minutes and this is meters over here. So when I graph this, this is what I end up getting. So again, we're starting with low to low. So I'm going to be thinking of this as a cosine. So I'm going to go y equal, my amplitude is 400. And again, I'm going to do this as a cosine. Now my period is 10, but I need to find my b. So to find my b is equal to 2 pi, sorry, b period is equal to 2 pi over b. So 10 is equal to 2 pi over b. So that means that 10b is going to equal 2 pi. So b is going to equal 2 pi over 10, or pi fifths. Okay, so that means that, again, our b is going to be pi fifths. Then our phase shift, we're going to start at 4, so that's x minus 4, and then we drop down 600. This is our equation. And actually, here, let me put a t in here because they wanted us to use t for time. T. On number 3, what they want to do is write one sine and one cosine for the following graph. So what I'm going to do is, first off, I'm going to look for my highs and lows. So my high is right there. My low is right there. And real quick, if my high looks like it's at 1, 2, 3, my low is at -1. So if I average those, I'm going to get a 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. And that is where my vertical shift is. Okay, so that is at 1. Now, my amplitude is the distance from here to here, or here to here. So my amplitude is going to be 2. Now, if I'm doing sine, I want to do zeros. So I can do this at different spots. I'm going to choose this point to here. Okay, so this is what I'm going to be focused on. This, let me do it. I'm going to do it a little fainter. Okay, this right here is going to be the sine that I'm going to focus on. So when I'm trying to write the equation for that sine, number 1, this is going to be y equal, the amplitude is 2, but I am starting where I'm personally starting. I'm going to start right here. I could start here if I want. I'm just going to start here. So there's different answers that you can give me. I'm starting here, I'm going down. So in my situation, I'm going to do it as a -2 times sine. Now my b is the period. So I'm going from -pi to pi. That distance is 2 pi. So that means that my b, remember 2 pi is equal to 2 pi over b, my b is going to be a1. Okay, my b is going to be a1. So I don't need to have a b. Now I'm starting here at -pi, so that means this is going to be an x plus pi. And then it did have a shift up to 1, so +1. So that would be my equation for sine. Again, I could have started here if I wanted to. How would that have changed? It would have been a +2. This would just be sine x, and then that would be my graph. Okay, so there's different possibilities. So now if I do a cosine, so if I'm doing a cosine, let's say for my cosine, I am starting high to high. So if I'm doing high to high, I'm going to start here to here. And that's going to be my graph. Now, this time it's going to be a positive because I'm doing it starting from above. My amplitude is the same. My period is the same. My B will be the same, but I am going to start it in a different spot. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 marks to get to pi. So these are each going to be pi fourths. So this is going to be negative pi 4, negative, let me write this out. So this is going to be right here. That would be, since that's negative pi fourths or negative 4 pi fourths, that would be negative 5 pi fourths. So this one here would be negative 6 pi fourths, which is negative fourths, sorry, right, fourth, which is a negative 3 pi halves. So I'm going to be starting at a negative 3 pi halves. So that means that this is going to be x plus 3 pi halves, because that's where I'm starting at a negative 3 pi halves. And it still has the same vertical shift. So the only things that change between sine and cosine is the sine maybe of your amplitude here and this phase shift. Everything else will be the same. The B will be the same. The vertical shift will be the same. Okay, on these. So I am trying to find all answers that will give me the following cosine. So I'm looking at where my cosine's negative. My cosines are x's. They're going to be negative in these two quadrants, 2 and 3. And then I want to be thinking about short comma long and long comma short. So I want my x to be short. So I'm going to do short, long. So I'm going to end up here, which means I'm also here. Now, this is going to be pi thirds. This is going to be 2 pi thirds. And this is going to be 4 pi thirds. And those are my answers. My sine being 0, that's going to be here and here, because that's my y. So that's going to be at 0 and at pi. For my cosecant, which to be this, now cosecant, C doesn't go with C, S doesn't go with S. So this is going to be sine theta. So I'm trying to find the sine theta of, do the reciprocal, root 3 over 2. So where's my sine positive? Well, my sine is going to be positive. Since sine is y, it's going to be positive up here in quadrants 1 and 2. And so I want to think again, short, long, or long, short. I want my y to be long. So that means short, comma, long. So I'm going to be here. Let me make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to be here and here. So I have pi thirds again. So this is going to be pi thirds, and this is going to be 2 pi thirds. Tangent, okay, tangent is positive in quadrant 1 and quadrant 3. And tangent is y over x. So I want my x and my y coordinates to be the same. That's going to be here and here at my pi force. So this is going to be pi force, and this is going to be 5 pi force. Okay, now these ones, we want to figure out where we're going to be, and we want to find the actual answer. So if I'm thinking about doing this, number one, it's going this direction because it's negative, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 into 19. That goes in 6 times, which is 18 with 1 left over. So what that means is basically I want to go -6 and 1/3 pi. Anytime I'm dealing with going around a circle, okay, as many times as I need to, when I go around, every time I get to here, these are even pi. So I'm here. And then I'm going to continue for another 1/3, which puts me here. That's where I'm going to be. So again, when I'm doing this, I'm starting here, going from, let me scoot out a little bit, going from here all the way around, and I'm going around multiple times, but eventually I'm going to end up here at a -6 pi, and I need to go 1/3 more. That's what's happening. So I have this angle here, okay, that I'm dealing with. And so if I make my triangle, let me make my triangle here. Okay, it is going to be a right triangle. I'm going to start here and drag it to here. So the coordinates of this are going to be short, comma, long. Now I want cosecant. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So I basically want sine of -19 pi thirds. And sine of -19 pi thirds is a -√3/2. So that means I want the reciprocal. And I'm going to rationalize. I'm going to multiply the top by √3 and the bottom by √3. And when I do, my final answer is going to be -2 √3/3. That is what the cosecant equals. On B. So -4, again, it's negative, so I'm going this direction. So negative, this would be -3 pi thirds. I'm going to -4 pi thirds. So I'm going all the way to here. So this is where I'm going to be. And if I am looking at this, the coordinates of this are going to be short, comma, long. And I want the sine. So the sine is the y coordinate. So my answer is √3 halves. That is my answer. On C, cotangent of pi halves. This is where pi halves is. This is 0, 1. Cotangent is x over y. So I'm going to be doing 0/1, which is 0. That is the answer. Secant, okay, so first 5 pi fourths. 5 pi fourths going all the way to here is 4 pi fourths. So I'm going to go to here. That's where I'm going to be. And I'm going to end up in this situation with my force where my x and my y are the same coordinates. So this is going to be -√2 halves, comma, -√2 halves. Secant is really your cosine. So I really want the cosine of 5 pi fourths. Now in this case, the x and the y are the same coordinates, but I do want the x. So that's going to be -√2 over 2. Now I want the reciprocal of that, and the reciprocal of that is -2 over √2. I rationalize. And when I rationalize, I get -2 √2 over 2, which simplifies to -√2. On the next one, 5 pi 6. 5 pi 6, I haven't quite made it all the way around the circle. I'm going to be right here. So this is going to be where I'm at. Now the coordinates of this is going to be long, but negative. So -√3 halves, comma, short. Cosine is your x. So my answer is -√3 over 2. On letter F, 4 pi thirds. So 4 pi thirds, this would be 3 pi thirds, 4 pi thirds, I'm here. That's where I am. And this is going to be short, comma, long. So this is going to be a -1/2, comma, -√3 halves. S doesn't go with S, so I want cosine. I want cosine of 4 pi thirds. Cosine is a -1/2. I want the reciprocal, which is going to be a -2. For this, we're going to find the roots. Now, My P is going to be everything that gives me a -4, so plus or minus 1, 2, and 4. My Q is going to be just plus or minus 1. So when I do P over Q, my P over Q's, because I'm just going to have 1 on bottom, is just going to be a positive -1, 2, or 4. So those are our choices. Now, when I do this, I want to be careful because I notice that I am missing in that x squared. So when I do my synthetic division, I'm going to do it in a table form just in case I don't get everything right away. 1 for my x to the 4th, 1 for my x to the 3rd, 0 for my x to the 2nd, 2 for my x, and then my constant is -4. Okay. Now at 0, if I look here, I'm at -4, just to kind of keep in mind where we're at. So let's say I try 1. Okay, bring this down. 1 times 1 is 1. I add it to 1 and I get 2. 2 times 1 is 2. I add it to 0 and I get 2. 2 times 1 is 2. I add it with 2. I get 4. 4 times 1 is 4. I add it to -4 and I get 0. So I actually found a 0 right now. This right here is a 0. So one answer is going to be x equal 1. That's one answer. It was a degree 4. So now this is a degree 3. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to do a new synthetic division. So now I'm going to start with 1, 1, sorry, not 1, 1, sorry. 1, 2, 2, 4. I'm going to do new synthetic division. Now, I notice that these are all positive, so I'm not going to try any of my positives because nothing's going to cancel out if I keep multiplying by a positive and adding to a positive. So I'm going to try negatives. So let's say I try -1. Bring down my 1. 1 times -1, I add it to 2, I get 1. 1 times -1 is -1. I add it to 2, I get 1. 1 times -1 is -1. I add it to 4, I get 3. So that didn't work. Okay, let's try -2. Bring down our 1. 1 times -2 is -2. Add it to 2, I get 0. 0 times -2 is 0. I add it to 2, I get 2. 2 times -2 is -4. I add it to 4, I get 0. So I found another solution. This one is x equal -2. I need 4 solutions. So now I am going to take this one here that we just found, and that's going to be a degree 2. And that is x squared plus 2 equal 0. I'm going to minus 2. When I take the square root, I get a plus or minus I because it is a negative that I'm square rooting root 2. So my 4 answers are going to be 1 and -2, and then plus or minus I root 2. And that's the end of this video.